Hello everyone, Richard Carlton here. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker training. We're here at fmtrain.tv where every day, except when we're not here, we're on holiday. We're on holiday, as they say in the EU, right? UK, we're on holiday. Not really an American term. We are off. Last week was Thanksgiving. I want to welcome everyone on YouTube, Twitch, and Discord. What I want to do is remind everyone, I'm going to press a couple buttons here real quick. So this is the upcoming broadcast schedule. Tomorrow, I don't even really know what tomorrow is about. It'll be interesting. Margaret, remind Jonathan he's up tomorrow. And then Christian Schmidt will be here. And then Christian Olson, different Christian, will be here with Mr. Watson on Thursday. As a reminder, this is fmtrain.tv. We're broadcasting in high definition on Twitch, YouTube, and Discord. As a reminder, we appreciate everyone who supports the channel. This is very, very important. You can purchase a bundle right here, and that helps support the channel. However, we have an upcoming event coming up, the certification training, January 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th at least. 14th, 15th Saturday, but it might be a couple days the following week. We're going to be going through in excruciating detail. I can't say I guarantee you'll pass a certification test, but I would say it, except that then I'd have to offer refunds if some of you guys just phoned in the effort and didn't try very hard. So we're not going to do that. But I'm pretty sure that if you pay attention, study, and do what we tell you to do, you're going to pass the certification test. If you're a complete bundle subscriber and you're current, then you can come to the certification test. It's no charge. If you don't have a complete bundle training subscription and you just want to buy just the event, it's going to be $3.99, and you can just come to the event, and then you're going to get the recordings. You can attend live or you get the recording. So it's an intensive training. It's special high-intensity training. Special high-intensity training for FileMaker certification. It's going to be fully awesome. And so for those of you who have the complete subscription, you'll be getting the invite, and then of course you'll get the recordings after the fact. So let's talk about today. Are we kind of ready to kick today over? Richard, is the certification training in the same time slot? No. There will be a live stream those days that will probably not be me. It'll be at 11 a.m., 2 hours earlier. It'll run about 90 minutes. So we're going to actually be doing 2 broadcasts every day during the week. It's going to cause my little head to explode, but that's why it's not free. If you want it to be free, it's an extra event, special event. That's why it's not free. But we're prepared. I've been prepping and getting the content ready. You'll get a PDF that goes with it, which will basically outline kind of everything we're verbally talking about, right? So the goal is that we're going to take Claris's training review document and kind of beef it up and enhance it and make it better, and then you're going to have a really good shot at passing the test. Because remember, to pass the test, you only need 62%. Maybe a little bit less than that, but we know that someone did pass it recently with 62. So, and like I said, when you get out of medical school and you're a doctor, no one knows whether you're a 100% doctor or you got out of medical school with a 62%. You're a doctor either way. So doctors seems a little more serious about that. I don't know. I might want to have a grade behind them, like how good they are. But with FileMaker developers, it's kind of the same thing, either pass or not a pass, right? Well, let's talk about FileMaker 19.4, which is today's broadcast. So Claris, about 10 days ago, thereabouts, released an update to the FileMaker platform 19.4. Now, I have a very important moment here to share with everyone. So before I get too deep with this, let's talk about what happened with this product. So here's what happened. Claris came to us and said, here's the ETS, so you can test this stuff a little early. If any of you are like hard charging kind of people and you're in their partner program, you can say, hey, I want to be an ETS. They'll invite you to ETS, and you get to see the product in advance. They said, hey, this is this new feature. And what they do is they give you a download, and they give you this document, and the document tells you what's new in it. And they basically listed 2 things in it. They listed the fact that they would have some sort of Siri shortcuts, and since Siri makes my life intermittently miserable, I don't really trust her that much. So for me, it's kind of like an thing. And then the other thing was they were talking about additional Oauth providers. Remember we did the Azure thing about where you can authenticate with Azure. They're saying, well, instead of just Active Directory, this is a certification test question, everyone listening, what are ways to authenticate prior to 19.4 is on-premise Active Directory, on Active Directory. Then you can use Google Amazon, and Azure Active Directory, the cloud. Those are all three cloud ones. So with 19.4, they said, hey, we're going to get some other ones, and then we have the shortcuts. And we're like, okay, so it has 2 new features. So this is what I want to show you right here. So this is my visual analogy, right? So this is my Nerf gun, and this is what we use in the sales meeting, right? So when people say, why do I want to upgrade FileMaker, or why do I want to buy FileMaker? This is what we use. This is the metaphor, right? We need the reasons, the features, right? This is what these are. These are the reasons and the features, right? And so Claire said, here comes 19.4, and we're going to give you 2 bullets for your gun, right? And so there's 2 bullets in here. So when we're having a meeting with people, the developer community does 2 things. Development community does 2 things. It builds solutions, but we also sell them. We frequently use the product ourselves, but we also sell it. Right? So we get this notification from ETS, yeah, we got like these 2 features. So we get these 2 Nerf bullets, right? So then you go to a meeting, right? And you're in here and you're like, and people are like, why do we want to use FileMaker? Why do we want to upgrade? Why do we want to buy FileMaker? And we got 2 bullets, right? And lo and behold, I get the release, and suddenly out of the blue sky, and we're stuck with all this other ammo. Bullets. So yeah, thank you for the bullets, but as a developer, developers aren't salespeople. We want to look at the bullet, we want to see how it works before we promise our customers what it's going to do. We have a rule at RCC, we never promise anything that we haven't used before. So the visual analogy is that you have only 2 bullets, and then when they ship it, here's the other 40 or 50 features in it. Now we're stuck here trying to, like, all these other bullets that hit me in the head, trying to load them into the gun and test them, right? Test them in the Nerf gun. Suddenly you've got a weapon that's full of bullets, which is great. All these reasons, every bullet is a reason to buy FileMaker. New feature. This is bug fix. It goes faster. This one here says that WebDirect is faster and more performant. And this bug right here that I found says that they found some bugs with WebDirect, and it makes it go better. That's what today's about. So today is us evaluating all the bullets that we have, a giant pile of bullets, and having that conversation. So Jacob Taylor, are you there? I'm going to make myself somewhat smaller.
Yes, I am.
And we're here to discuss the ammo that Claris is giving us. We have ammo. So let's start at the top on Pro. So why don't you kind of lead the conversation, and if you have questions, we're not going to be demoing this stuff because guess what? They just dumped these bullets on top of my head last week. But we'll start today with the conversation. So number 1 item right there.
Yeah, I'm just going to call that out up front since it's basically a surprise. Surprise, Mojave is no longer supported. So if you have, I'm not going to say old, but older Macs, check what version they're on. Check what version of the operating system they're using. Mojave will not work. So with 19.4.
Yeah, we've been expecting this to happen, but I don't know if in ETS they mentioned this or not, but everyone was thinking it was a lightweight release, so we weren't looking, right? So
I assumed 19.4 would support Mojave still, but they cut it out. So
yeah.
Basically what that means is if you're on super current versions of Pro and Server, you're going to need Catalina or newer if you have like a Mac server or you're using Mac desktop for anything. So
welcome Jeffrey Smith from Alabama. That's awesome. Glad you folks are here. Yep. So for those of you wondering, when they told us to test it, they basically said this is what they gave us. So this entire is bullet number 1, bullet number 2.
See how tiny the scroll bar is over here on the right side, and this is just Pro. So it's like they said, yeah, like we heard, hey, test this shortcuts integration, which is kind of cool. You can go into Pro and you can opt a script into being shareable to the Shortcuts app on your Mac desktop computer. And then you can shout at Siri to make FileMaker do things, or plug those into automations, or I don't use that stuff, so I'm not sure how powerful it is, but it seems neat at least. And then the other thing that we needed here is the Oauth stuff. So if you use Okta or Ping, or I think there's a list of 4 of them that are like officially supported, and then there's a custom dropout for everything else. You can now, as of now, use that on your server if you're going to use that stuff for logins for users. So
real quick, just to recap this, is that if you for the last number of years, But way back in the old days, you could do authentication with FileMaker with what I would call it on-prem Active Directory. So it's the Microsoft, started with Microsoft NT way back in the day, and you have this like domain controller in your office, which is a Windows machine that manages all your accounts and stuff like that. Then Claris came out and supported Google Cloud, Google's authentication up in the cloud, Amazon authentication in the cloud, and Azure AD. We did 2 days of Azure AD. RCC is moving to Azure AD tomorrow morning, and so. And so as a result of that, we had 2 days on that. And so then they come out with some other companies, other providers besides those basic 4 options that you have, right? And so are we prepared to demo this to you? No. As people, there'll probably be people who put webinars on it or want to talk about it. That'll be fine. But yeah, keep in mind, this topic is on the certification test. If you take the certification test now, between now and the next 2 or 3 months, and I'm going to retake it just for fun, I would doubt that Claris has updated the questions on the test to reflect this stuff. I doubt it very much. So don't expect that, but get account type. I think there's a question that I don't remember what they ask about it, but you should know what this does. And notice that over here, this is a new result that comes back with. Okay, so that's important. Okay.
Yeah, and so you'll get the Microsoft, the Google, the Amazon, those values stay. There's a new option that might come back. So again, if you use Okta or Ping, or I've forgotten the list of 4, but they had 4 that they called out as like officially tested and supported.
Sure.
Of these custom ones. So.
Okay, so what's the next one down? Keep moving down the page.
So next features, you have session identifiers. You can set basically a session ID. Or get them actually, for Pro, but it also works for WebDirect and other things. So if you are used to the very ugly, if you go to the admin console and you see somebody logged in on WebDirect, you see WebDirect dash, you can now set that manually during their user login, so that it's much easier from the admin console, from logs, from whatever, to identify what computer they were on, that kind of stuff, because you can put all that information into their, it's called the session ID now. So,
okay, cool.
The thing's been there for a long time, but we can interact with it now, basically.
Yeah, which is really great.
Yep.
All right, cool. So then I think Kyle Williams, are you here? He's not really in audio, but we're going to read what you say. But are you going to, I think Kyle Williams is prepping a demo for this, right? I think as a demo one of his days. Yes, you're here.
SQL.
Yes, I'm waiting. Here
You're
he is
doing a demo
typing.
for this?
Type
That'd be
faster,
great.
William. You're on live TV. Type faster. Y for yes, N for no.
Yep. So
I'll be covering it on Friday. So he'll be covering this
Perfect.
specific topic on Friday. I'm not an SQL guy, and so for me it's like, yeah, whatever, right? But for those of you who like SQL, this is great. Then that they did something for you. Okay. Fantastic.
FileMaker fields table. Oh, I see. Yeah, it lets you subset the fields better, which would speed it up because you're pulling less records across and
Cool.
the fields are less wide.
Okay. Offset and limit for records returned by the DAPI.
Data API.
Oh, this
call.
is the execute DAPI. Oh.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, not regular DAPI, but execute SQL or execute DAPI.
This is where we tell DAPI to do something from a FileMaker script, and it does processing. We got a training come up on this that Calvin's going to be doing. I've kind of forgotten this because I've almost never used this, and so I'll have to refresh my memory on it. But yeah, it's an enhancement on that.
Masha used it a lot because it's really, really fast for pulling. She would use it to pull found sets out and then process them in JSON because they come out as a big JSON blob. And it's apparently screaming fast for that specifically. And so she would use it instead of execute SQL or something like that. But basically this brings offsets and limits, which are normally supported on the data API. You can get a found set and your offset is skip the first 100 records or something. And then limits is what it sounds like. So only give me the first 50 records of the found set or something like that.
Cool.
Those are well supported elsewhere, but just didn't work in the specifically the execute FileMaker data API script step.
Cool. All right. Next one down.
And now we're into the giant list of, there's like different sections for this. So this is Pro. There's a section of Windows and OS X, i.e. the changes apply to both. There's a Windows, there's an OS X below. And so those are like, each of those are platform specific.
Platform specific, yeah. So let's start at the top.
Yep. So Windows and Mac, we have a fresh OpenSSL. One big thing to note, it is probably irrelevant to almost everybody in the community, but it is a security change that limits how things work. So when we used to do imports of Excel, and that's because XLSX are actually XML files, or regular old XML files if you did an import with those. XML files have a DTD at the top. If you ever pop one of those open in a notepad application or something, you might see that. It is standard to ignore those at this point. They are like little magic values, and your app will just check it and look at it and make sure it seems sane, but it doesn't, like it looks like a link in the text, because it is, but we don't actually pull them in anymore. While it turns out FileMaker actually was pulling them in and processing them previously. That is now disabled if that matters to you. It shouldn't be, but if you're in some kind of enterprise scenario where you actually use that, please check your workflows with 19.4. They may be broken if you rely on that functionality. If not, you don't care, and your FileMaker is now more secure. Congrats.
Yeah, this came up in our ransomware. For those of you who missed the ransomware event, I don't know, it was a week before last. Really a fantastic, or was last week. Maybe it was last week. I can't remember. But the point is, yeah, it was. There was a conversation about ransomware. A really excellent conversation. And so, is this more information on that? Is this the same thing?
This is a separate post from Claris on the thing that they mitigated that is that change. So
that change affects this. So it's an attack, basically to cause a denial of service attack to your FileMaker server. I think FileMaker server is much more likely to deny it self-service just due to a bug than someone attacking it. But it's
But we don't do this anymore. We don't do external entity processing unless you specifically opt into it and I'm the super smart developer and I know exactly what I'm doing and whatever. But in general, we don't use that feature anymore because it's mostly just a giant security hole. So Pro. There it is. All right, cool. All right, next one. This
is a bug fix.
A cool one.
Yeah. When transferring container to external storage for more than one container for that time and hosted in Pro, the embedded wasn't removed. This is your bug.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah. So they fixed
I reported this bug. Yeah. Yep. I need to test it, but yeah.
Yeah. So basically, if you're, for those of you wondering, I'm going to wave my hands real quick on this. So if you're in FileMaker and you have a hosted solution, and sometimes even on a local solution, and you say, I have a container. Like when we ship solutions to most people, we ship them with the container set to be internally stored. With like starting point, our CRM comes that way. That way, as you put things in there and you're playing with the file, you don't lose the images or PDFs or whatever you have. But as you start to use it, we tell everyone, after you start to use it and you're serious about it, go to the field definitions and set it for external storage. Well, FileMaker will move it, everything internal, make it external or vice versa. That hasn't worked in a long time. It's been broke for at least a year, right? So looks like they fixed that, which is great. So now you won't get this bizarre error where it says the files were open. You'll see these error message where it says every record is the files were locked, where someone had it opened and like we're editing the records, and so they were locked, so FileMaker couldn't make the edit to the record. Except that's a bogus alert, right? So so that's a good one to fix. So once again, more ammo, right? Another reason to use 19.4. Right? We're just going to load it in here, right?
Yeah, all kinds of bug fixes. That's the thing. We do actually have only 2 or 3 new features. It's just there's also, and you'll see as we go through this, there's a ton of features that were fixed that we'll say didn't work correctly before and now do. And so you could consider that. Well, I don't know if you should call them feature additions, but they're
I like bug fixes because it makes the platform more stable and it gives people less of a reason to throw you out of the business.
Run away. Yeah. Yep. So this thing now works correctly. If you're doing import, a folder of picture and movie files, that is now supposed to work correctly.
Yeah, that's a kind of a Nick Hunter thing right there. I don't know if he knows about that, but it was because basically this is another test question. Another test question. Like if you do this and you do this, you do folder, then what can you import, right? And it's basically targeting a pile of basically images, right? Is the idea. You can't target a bunch of Excel files and suck them in that way. I get that's kind of the question there. But yeah, another certification question.
And then this one.
This one's great, right? I like someone wrote this. Either did nothing. Okay, you could tell that marketing didn't write that because no one says that unless you're in engineering.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's the user experience of that, which was accurate. Yeah, because you'd hit share to or upload to host, and it would just do nothing. That's that's the best description.
Yeah, it hasn't worked for a while. I kind of quit using it. It's like you just quit. You keep stepping around the potholes in the ground when you drive the car. Yep. Next one, opening custom app in guest mode. I almost never use kiosk mode because
those two didn't interact.
That's back when kiosks were like this really big thing. Like everyone thought there'd be kiosks everywhere, like ATM machines, and it turns out that people got fancy large iPhones or Android phones, and then that's their kiosk, right? They just do it through their phone. What?
Yeah. To answer Stu's question, it says for the container bug fix, is there a way to know if the files are still there and how to get rid of the internally stored versions? Unfortunately, we had to do that the hard way.
Well, right now, the easy way to not worry about it is just go in there, whatever if they're set for external. See, here's this is another important. Let's just take a moment here and Stu asked a really good question. And he's leading into something that I'll just spend 5 minutes on. So let's talk about containers and internal storage versus external storage. Again, this is a certification test question. Stu's question is not, but this issue is. So basically the idea is that everyone assumes that if a container is internally in a file or it's externally in a file and it's binary, it's either one way or the other way. There's no in between. And that is a lie. That is a bald-faced lie, right? You can actually... Ball-faced lie. You can, if FileMaker for some reason could run into a situation where it can't transfer them. For example, when you say you're going to have a bunch of internal ones and then you transfer them, it's what it's supposed to do, and now in 19.4 it does this. So we're just going to talk about what it does now with 19.4, not previous ones. It would say, it goes through each one, it transfers it, and then it gives you a readout of which ones it failed to transfer because there was some sort of issue. It'll leave those internal. So what you end up with the situations where you have internal containers and external. So it's not out or in, it's binary. Now with this bug fix, you should be able to move them all one way or the other way. My suggestion would be to cycle them. Cycle them to internal if they're not too huge on the server. Just give it time. Don't do it in the middle of the day when everyone's using a server. It's an evening thing. Cycle it externally. And then after it saves and commits and it's good, let it set, let it catch up, write a backup or two, then move it back the other way. Where this also can be an issue, one, the server can't move all of them, so it moves part of them. That's one. The other issue, which is definitely testable question, is on FileMaker Go. FileMaker Go, if it has a local file, will save the containers internally. Okay, so you have a file that you set. I said, the file is set to be, you build it on Pro, right? We always build on Pro. You set to say, I want this externally saved on the externally, and maybe it's up on the server or it's on Pro, it's external storage. You move a copy locally, maybe through synchronization, to your iPad or iPhone. Then you take some more pictures. Those will not be saved externally because FileMaker Go doesn't support local solutions with external storage. I'm going to say that again. Listen to me carefully. FileMaker Go does not support local solutions, not on the server, local solutions that have external storage. If the solutions are local, the storage must be internal. So you have a file that you set externally, you move it to Go, it saves them internally, you move it back to Pro, you keep using it in Pro, Pro starts saving them externally, so you've got this non-binary situation where some of them are internal, some are external. That's why, if at all possible, especially if you're doing container stuff, do it on server, because if Go connects a server, then server handles the storage. Go doesn't give it. Go just gives it the server the files, and server handles it like it's supposed to. Understand that is on the test. It's coming for you. It's going to eat your lunch. Okay, so be ready for that. Okay. So there is, to answer Stu's question, there is a get function. A get container attributes. Get container attributes. Get container attributes. And it'll tell you whether the container is stored internally or externally. So it's a get function, and you could do that. And you could do
that's a per record thing too.
Yeah, it's a per record thing.
The basic issue is that there's two different levels. So there's what the field is set to, which is like the metadata. So if you know, we're going to store these photos in the database and we're going to set it to be external storage, wonderful. And so then if Pro or Go or any of these things come in and upload a photo, you know where it's going to be. It's going to be outside. Got it. However, there's a separate lower decision, which is on each record, which is where is the data for that actual record. And that may, and like Richard said, it can be split, so that may or may not be accurate for it. And if you have a failed transfer, you will have some inside the FMP12 and some outside the FMP12. That's handled on a per record basis, no matter what the metadata, you know, the field is set to.
Yes. So, yeah. And when we say transfer, we're talking about when you're in field definitions and you change it from one to the other and you say okay.
And it says,
"Hey, are you going to transfer this? Are we going to transfer it?" Right? Yeah. So.
Yep.
So was the bug that was there abandoned internally? If so, get container attribute, to my knowledge, returns the correct answers to.
Yeah, it always did.
Yeah. So.
It always returned the correct answer. The bug was either part of the migration or something else. I ran into it a bunch of times because we tried to do, when I reported it, we tried to do a migration of somebody's system, and we did it with a hosted file locally. I'll say locally in Pro, like we were running Pro on the server, and about more than half of the container data failed to transfer, and what it told me was that the records were locked, which is great because that couldn't possibly be true. I was the only one on the server. So
yeah. So what we get
transfer log.
Yeah. So what we're talking about, for those of you wondering about this, if you go into your database and you have it set internally, right? And so if I go to field type, I find my container wherever it's at. Calculation. There's a container. There's the container right there. And I say options, and I'm going to zoom in on this. Right, once again, storage option. This is all in the certification test. Once again, container externally. So it's either external. If it's not on this, then it's internal. Right. It really is kind of like it should be like a toggle. It's either internal or external. If it's external, then you get these two options here. Right. And then if you change it, right, then you say okay. Wherever that is down here, you say okay and say, hey, are you going to convert? You want to switch this? This is what was broke prior to 19.4. This will not. This transfer doesn't work. 99% of the time, it doesn't work. I mean, it failed religiously, reliably. So anyway, now it works better.
Within 19, previous to 19.
So then this is what transferred one, skipped one. I'm not sure. Open log file.
That's exactly. Yeah.
Because what's it mad about? Transfer started.
Nothing. There was nothing to transfer.
Item skipped one. Oh, okay.
That means there was one record in your found set or in your table, and there was no data in the. Probably means there was no data.
Yeah. So it's so then if I come over here and I close that, I open back up the starting point, and here should be there. Now it's externally. It's buried in this path in here, right? So
yeah.
All right. Cool. So that. Good topic.
And then we have a weird bug. So if you were doing the close file script step in 19, some previous versions of 19, it would close more than you were intending.
Yeah, that was a bug. Yeah, that a number of engineers ran into. So yeah.
Yeah.
And then this one right here, someone ought to text Christian Olson a lot. This one add-ons.
I love it.
And
I sent him the Go changelog. Oh, by the way, we're not even probably going to cover it today. There's an entire Go changelog as well that never went through ETS at all. Not even two features. Hey, check it out.
Did they?
So,
they didn't ETS Go?
They didn't even ETS. No, 19.4 never had a Go ETS.
Are you sure? I know you weren't invited, but normally it's a separate ETS group.
Oh, is it separate? Oh,
Yeah,
maybe
it's
maybe I'm
separate.
wrong. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, you have to be added to that, but it's but once again, they
Got it.
probably butchered that one too. But yeah, I
Yep.
mean, yeah. So
So
all
that
all these are
thing.
bullets that we weren't told about that we would
Yep.
magically just telepathically know about, right? So,
This is a really good one for anybody who does API integrations. Your insert from URL script step will now always return its code, no matter what happened, good or bad. Get last error will always do the correct thing. So now you can insert from URL and do if get last error and expect that to work correctly all the time, rather than having to check for individual error codes that will return 0 if there wasn't an error, which is what this actual thing says. Means if it's successful, it'll say okay.
good.
We have Windows changes. There's a whole bunch of stuff around containers. All the, and this is associated with their Edge integration that they've done, that debuted with 19.3. We're generally happy with it, but I will just say that it was early for Claris to have put Edge in, but it was just enough that they could probably get it working. 19.4 is now at the point where the containers on Windows will frankly kind of behave a lot closer to what you're expecting, and less of everybody's workflows will be broken at this point. Stuff like ActiveX will work. You can do drag and drop PDFs, etc.
For those you're wondering about this, so an interactive container, there is really no such thing. I mean, it's in the product, but an interactive container is basically a web viewer, right? Web viewer that's been redressed. It's not dressed as a web viewer. It looks like an interactive container. This, container is interactive, but it's really a web viewer. And a web viewer is the whole point, was rebuilt with this Edge API on Windows. So that's why this is in here, and it's really kind of a web viewer conversation. So you can see that it's behaving better.
There's ActiveX stuff down here. There's host. Oh, nice. They fixed that. Awesome.
Yeah.
Sometimes did nothing. Yeah, you'd put a host in and click into your file, and it would not. Weird Windows user login type issues. You install FileMaker and then try and log in as a different account, and it will not do the right thing. Clicking a popover button in the body part opens a popover containing a web viewer, and then clicking a popover button in the header part caused Pro to crash. That's exciting. Nice. I love crash bugs being fixed. When closing a profile, it would delete the local storage used by web viewers. Oh, so this is a big change that should probably be listed as a big fat feature at the top, because otherwise nobody will read it. So if you're using, again, Windows web viewers, 19.4, it does not clear your cookies between sessions anymore. It used to. It does not. It does not anymore. And so that may be useful to you if you want context to be maintained between web viewer sessions in the database. If you do not want context to be maintained,
you have a problem.
Claris just wrote the line that says you should jump in a lake. So
yeah, that's anytime that they talk about cookies and storage and caches, I think there should be a script step that clears that. And the problem is, I asked them for that, and they basically said, well, just go write your own with a batch script or some sort of PowerShell thing. And I'm like, wow, really?
Yeah. No, we need to be able to do lifecycle management on that. It's really important.
Yeah, well, they were not listening that day, so that was about 3 months ago. So
anyway. Yeah, I asked for that too, and then it was like, nope.
All right, so what's
Windows
next?
app, hide object when, stop responding in some cases, cool. Hide objects didn't work right. All right, so OSX.
This is me. That's me. I always have scroll bars mandatorily turned on. I hate them when they're hiding, because then I don't know where to click.
And it'll do the correct thing and measure the windows correctly in that case.
Yep.
So
this one right here. Do I have a Matt Petrowski fan in the house? Matt Petrowski fan right here. I think this is the crap that Matt has been using
with all their stuff on the side.
What they would actually put code on. Okay, so Ruben, you familiar with his technique where he actually puts code into text objects on the side of a layout? Like on a layout, It's kind of off the side. You can't see it, but it's like literally like a big let function or get function, right? Yeah. I remember Clay Mackle back in 2005 or 8 or whenever this came out going, wow, that's not a supported feature. That's probably going to break someday, right?
We do have some known issues.
Oh, hang on. I want to try
awesome.
something here. Hang on one second. There's been this thing where Claris got rid of this, and I was really pissed about this. Notice how we have record control right here? You go to layout mode, and it's not there. And what if you want to flip through layouts and you don't want to like go down through this long list of you just want to scroll backwards and forwards. So I want to right click, say customize toolbar.
Is there a layout?
They put it back. Yes. Thank you, Lord. All right. So this now you can flip this so easy.
Oh my God.
Oh my God.
That's
okay, this
awesome.
Well, they got rid of it because they were like, oh, you don't need this. You don't need to flip these. Because all the files we make here at Claris have 5 layouts. Why would you ever need that? There's 5 layouts. They're just right here, right? Oh, I'm so happy.
They've also got a few kind of notated bugs here. One of them's actually really funny. If you click a PDF that now displays correctly in the container field, that doesn't actually select the container field.
Doesn't select clicking the. Oh, this is once again. Okay. Excuse me, sorry, we have to have a boss intervention moment, right? What is my rule for interactive containers in a FileMaker solution, everyone? Turn them off, don't use them.
Christian says you love them.
I love them,
I feel
yes,
like Christian is mocking.
Richard worships at the altar of interactive containers.
Interactive containers have always been historically, anytime you're trying to like do this kind of shit, and then you have to fix this kind of stuff, means that you should not be using them. And here's the worst part about it. They're not necessary because you can pop everything open in a helper app like Acrobat or Preview on Mac or whatever. You don't need to use it inside a FileMaker. And because FileMaker will never handle images or PDFs as well as Preview will. It just can't, because they're trying to shove a turd through a tiny little pipe, and it's just not good. When I see things like that as a gentle fatherly grandfatherly figure, I am grandfather Richard. Please, great-grandson, do not use interactive containers or thy customers will barbecue your ass and complain. Okay?
They have updaters. They've Richard, you were looking for the updaters. Here's the updaters.
That's Pro. I was looking for the updater for server, which brings up a really interesting conversation, right? Because
server page.
Are we going to jump to the server? Are we going to jump to server now? Are we ready to do server?
We can do server.
Okay, cool. Right, we just covered Pro, the client. We haven't even got the server yet. See all the ammo they gave us? We got ammo. Yep. It's spilling on the ground. You got to, I mean, this is horrible. Literally.
So, yeah. So, server 19.4. Y'all have heard about the Oauth identity providers, the new custom one.
Okay, that's a double listing, so we've already seen that. Check.
Yep. So we now support macOS Monterey on the server side. We love that. Server supports the set session identifier thing.
Already know about that. Check.
Very cool. So that and then here's the benefit, or here's the other benefit. It will put their when you set their session identifier, it will put it in the access log when they're doing stuff. You might like that. This is a big change right here. It doesn't matter too much, but it is a big change. The admin console is no longer on. So when you're accessing the FileMaker server admin console remotely, you used to do some server address, port 16,000. No longer. Just no longer. It's on the regular HTTPS port. And so like before, you would have been port 16,000 / admin console. And you're just going to do server address / admin console now. So.
Okay, so hang on. I'm over here typing on my screen because I want to try this, right? So normally we would put like colon, 16,000 or something?
16,000, yep.
Okay, but
that will not work.
Nothing happens, right? So it didn't work. So now do I need the 443 or because I'm HTTPS, does it do it automatically for me?
You're already HTTPS. You need to do admin console because that's just going to show you the homepage.
Oh yeah, that is. So what do I have to do? I have to do.
Go edit the URL and add /admin - console.
Is it case sensitive?
Yes.
Okay, capital.
Admin dash console. You forgot the dash.
Okay.
The dash is
I haven't.
critical.
I normally I don't remotely access it like this. So
There
anything
you go.
else?
Hit it.
That's good.
Nope. Hit it.
Ah. Okay. So they did change it. So you don't have to put the port 443 in because it's assumed because you got the S on there. I know this is old school tech for those of you wondering about this, but that implies the 443. So.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Cool.
and that'll help. I don't know if that matters at all, but it's a big change because everybody's used to port 16,000. For those of you who are definitely going to ask, when you're like on the server and you're accessing localhost, it is still port 16,001. That has not changed.
Really?
Just the remote access. Yeah, that port has never been accessible off the machine though, so it doesn't. It's just they reseeded it somewhere else. It's fine. So what did they do? And we don't know what. Yeah. We don't actually know what this change is.
This is the mystery. No, this is like mystery meat. When you're a kid and you're in high school or junior high, and
Marketing
they have mystery meat, right? You could tell. Yeah, there was more technical stuff in here,
or some sort of CRUD operation. If I were making. What does Dave call them? Wild guesses.
Yes.
They looked at OData and optimized operations with server based on those interactions. Because OData is the only thing that we deal with in FileMaker that is described by CRUD, create, read, update, and delete operations. It's the only place that they use that verbiage.
Okay.
Well, I don't know if that's a one-to-one match. I'm shooting in the dark here, but
that's a total guess. Right? We shouldn't have to guess. We should know. But once again, here we are. So,
as previously covered, we have a fresh OpenSSL version, so we're super secure. I don't know what the fixes were in OpenSSL.
Yeah, we already knew about that one. So that's double listing. What else we got?
This is interesting, and I'll say we'll break a bunch of stuff, but also won't at all. And I haven't tested this. But my read of this change is basically so you all used to know, for any of you who've set up a FileMaker server, before you put your own SSL certificate into the server, there's like one that it comes with, and it's like the same for everybody and expires in like 2050 or some crazy date in the future. What they have done is they changed it. So I don't know, like I said, I don't know if it's like at server boot up time or when the thing happens, but basically it fresh generates a certificate for each server. That's what this means. And so the benefit there is that previously all of the FileMaker servers were basically using the same key. And that doesn't strictly speaking matter because Claris is the one I think that has the key, but also that key has to be communicated, and so it may have been in the installer or something like that. It is theoretically possible someone could extract that and do crazy things with it. Mostly if you're concerned about security, you already would have an SSL certificate in your server of your own creation, making, purchase, or otherwise. And you would have been recommended to do that anyway, as I would recommend you to do it anyway. What this does is it makes sure that not everyone is make sure that everyone isn't using the same key, which means if someone were to figure out how to breach that key that came with FileMaker server previously, that they wouldn't be able to sit there and decrypt your data or something like that. That's kind of a off in the weeds attack because they have to be sitting between your FileMaker and the server and have done whatever that decryption or extraction process is. But it's not impossible. And especially if I'll say if any government is on your list of threats to your business, any government, it would be a concern that is that way. And so that's why they fixed it.
Will FileFM update from a version prior to 19.3.2 is a question from Michelle Grau.
Probably. Not sure.
Yeah, because I haven't tried that. But
if you're on Windows, I don't know what it does. If you're on Mac, it will ask you. If you're on Mac and you don't want to try and find out, you download the fresh installer and copy-paste the app file. Windows will probably
Okay, I'm going to
Ruben,
hold on
you're getting
Ruben's
ahead.
question real quick. Alex, welcome Alex from Boston. Jeffrey from Alabama, welcome Jeff. Ed
And app
Burkle, yep,
updated. Okay, cool.
yep. So
Sorry.
we're going to get to that. Yeah, we want to talk about. Are we on the updater yet? Where it talks about the updater upgrading?
No, people are just asking about it because they want to know what the upgrade is.
Okay,
I follow the prompts in your app is my actual short version. I don't know.
well,
So
do we want to talk about me doing the update on the Mac because we had that command line that we did, right? Remember that?
what?
We're talking about the. Well, maybe we're talking about
That's
different things.
updating the server. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're all asking about
Pro.
Pro, I think. There's a really easy answer. Don't upgrade FileMaker Server. Clean install it. It's very simple. There
Yeah,
was one version that worked perfectly in my experience, which was 19.2. 19.3 did not and busted at least half of the installs. I tried to upgrade and then I clean installed them and it was fine. 19.4 it may have trundled back the other direction and now maybe it works again. But
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
done endorsing it. I did it once and I'm
Yeah,
not doing it again.
we
So
tried it the other day on my machine, on my personal FileMaker
it
server.
seemed to have worked.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it seemed to have worked, but that's a sample size of one Mac, right?
yeah.
And so that does not constitute an approval from
Installer
RCC.
did have. Yeah, and so the thing is I think the actual problems with 19.3 had to do with the SSL stuff that they changed in that, and then we found out about it. They actually didn't put that one in the changelog at all. You had to go read the forums to find out about that one, but um, yeah. So just general version. It seems like Pro is upgradable. I would not upgrade server at this point. They promise that we can. I've got questions, so I don't.
So
I'm not going to
Kyle
trust it.
just said I had to do clean install 19.4. Can wait? You guys type this stuff up.
Built-in installer
Can
did
you
have some
make
issues
sure
on
we're talking
PCs.
about server
Yeah.
or Pro? I think Kyle's talking about server 19.4 server. Right, the
Mm-hmm.
built-in installer for 19.4 server had some issues on Windows PCs.
Yeah, you guys need to explain. No, we had an
No,
issue with FMP.
that's
There you
why
go.
I'm
Okay.
asking you. That's why I'm asking you about that. Yeah. So I guess clean install on FileMaker Pro and Windows. So yeah,
Cool.
um, it's always something. Is always something that it's a moving target. Updates and just
Yep.
like ugh. Yeah.
So addressed issues. Mac server no longer comes with PHP at all. This is, I guess, an addressed issue because Windows hadn't for a couple versions now, but the Mac had previously. It no longer does. There's no PHP. So your standalone FileMaker server with PHP on the same machine on a Mac Mini or something like that is not. It's not impossible, but it's not nearly as approachable as it was previously because you've got to manually set all that stuff up, and that sucks. So there's that. It will, but it will not be installed on a clean. Oh, I see. So they're going to leave it if it's already enabled and turned on.
Yes.
But if
Right.
it's a clean non-upgrade, okay, yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
I
sense.
think this is an important part of this. I don't know if we mentioned this or I was not paying attention, but there is no separate installer for updating on FileMaker Server, right? For FileMaker
Not
Server,
anymore.
there's only one installer. When you double click the installer sees that you have a previous version, and it goes through. It actually on Mac, the screen will flash as it skips through screens where it asks you questions, right? So as you go through the process of installing FileMaker Server, I'm over here. I'm going to move myself a little bit. As you're going through that process up on server, it says, do you want a multi-machine configuration? And do you want to put your password in? And what's your PIN number? And all the stuff that we do on these videos. Go back and watch our videos on that. On a full install, you're going to go through each of those windows. If the installer, the full installer sees that you're already actually on a machine, it goes into updater mode. So it's not like one updater, one clean install. It's one install completely, and it like does in-flight adjustments for you. And so you'll actually on the Mac see the screen like flash as it's skipping through screens because it already sees that you put this data in on the previous install. It's not going to ask you a second time. So understand it. I guess it's an important kind of concept here. Clean install. So on a server, when we say clean install, we mean fresh operating system, and then run the install. Now, that's what a clean install is on a server. On a client machine, no one's going to format their computer on the client because FileMaker can't get their crap together, right? I mean, I say that nicely, and I'm not picking on them at the moment. I'm just saying no one's going to do that. So a clean install on the Mac Pro, Windows Pro is basically remove the other app, or you don't run the updater where you download stuff. You want to show that real quick? You're going to run the full. Jacob, can you go to the download page real quick?
The what?
Where you download the latest
updaters?
release, the release page, where not the release notes, but the Claris downloads or.
I'm trying to type it. I don't know if anyone else knows this address. Maybe. Nope, doesn't even work anymore. Awesome.
Wow. Okay. There we go.
Is that it?
There we go.
Yeah.
All right.
There it is.
So hit Mac. Let's just start with Mac for the moment. Okay. So when you're on Pro, you either have you have this. So that is the updater. That's not a full install. Okay.
Correct. They don't put the full installs.
They don't put full installs unless you buy it. On server, there's only one install, so it's not on their page. They don't want you getting this unless you get it off their licensing, right? The license page, right? So wherever you buy it from, whether it's me or buy it from someone else, you're gonna have this download. You get this link. So this is just the updater, but on server they're combined together. There is not an updater and a separate clean install. So just so everyone's clear on that. Kyle says he had a problem with when he ran an update on Pro Windows. Something issue with VPN location showing up or importing PDFs and container fields. He did a full install, so he had to go back to his license page and click the button, and it says, yeah, your license is still good. Here's the full install. And he did on Windows, and then the network and VPN and everything started working again, so that was good. So, all right, keep going, Jacob.
It's a quality of life. It doesn't matter at all, but it's nice. On the server, they changed to so those links that you can see for like the FileMaker server admin console that it puts on your desktop, those were .website links, which are deprecated and actually currently only work in Internet Explorer, because that is the only one that supports that ancient format, we'll call it. And so they changed it to this, which means when you change your if you put the default browser as Chrome or Firefox or Edge, whatever, on the server, it will actually open in that instead of IE, basically.
So I thought they were HTML or HTML pages. They're not?
No, nope. There's a special link format for how to make a link to a website on a Windows computer. And it used to be .website, which is from like the 90s. You're on a Mac, which those will be the .websites work on Mac.
Okay, so hang on. So I'm on the Mac server right here. I logged in. I don't know, you probably can't see, but I'm seeing my little launchery thing here, and it's .weblock. So you're saying that on Windows and other places it'll be
.website.
It would have been website, but they're changing that to .url. .url is the new standard, right? Correct.
Mm-hmm.
So this is
it's the one that actually works in Windows.
So is
not
this
the one that worked in Windows in 1996?
Just a pointer? Is that what this is? So I could probably open it with a text edit or something like that.
Yeah, drop it on text edit. See what it looks like.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Text.
These things are always just like little baby INI files, basically.
Okay, so here it is. It looks like it's a little. So what it does is it's
a baby XML file.
It's a baby MXOL file, right? So
I don't know if that's how the Windows ones work, but that's how Mac works.
Okay.
That's all it is. It's a special thing that Safari or whatever knows how to.
Yeah, and that's the local host, and there's that console, and then it's the O1 is still there. Yeah, the O1's still there. Okay, cool. All right, what else we got? Running out of time.
Some cleanups. Uninstalling FileMaker Server would delete some stuff it shouldn't have. When you upgrade it, it would fail if some components were not stopped before. Oh, nice. So it does more checks. Good.
Okay.
Good. That's it checks and will stop you from shooting yourself in the foot.
Good.
And they maybe made it more reliable also. Upgrading using the assisted install file would sometimes forget your admin console credentials. That's awesome. I love that. Beautiful. I'm glad that works now. Installing it on was not completed successfully if the skip dialogues was set to 1. also awesome. That would have prevented automated rollout of FileMaker Server, because that's the assisted install is like a special text file you put next to the installer on it actually works Windows, Mac, whatever, Linux as well. But it like predefines like don't ask me any of the questions, which is what skip dialogues is. And you can put your license certificate in there and your console credentials and that kind of stuff. So it'll like kind of pre-configure the server for you. So all you have to do is either double click the installer and hit next once, and then it's like done basically, or you can roll it out on the command line, same way. Let's see, upgrading 18 to 19 didn't complete successfully and did weird stuff. I like it. That works now. And then it would block you. Okay, cool. Installing previous versions of FileMaker.
So this is great. More stability stuff. This is like a magical surprise, right? So here it comes.
No, this one's good. And so customers have run into this. I've seen this bug personally. I'll just read that. FileMaker Server on macOS stopped responding if Pro downloaded incomplete PDF files from containers configured to display images. So if I had to guess, that's part of the thumbnailing process where their call out to the operating system either failed or wasn't set up correctly or didn't have enough.
Yeah, they were calling what do they call that? Core. I can't remember the
Core
name.
Graphics or
Core
something.
Graphics or something. Yeah, it's an API that had this name.
It's like an OS. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's one of the differences between macOS and Windows actually. Yep. macOS has hey, I have a PDF, and you can like go and ask the operating system, can you give me a thumbnail of the first page?
Yeah.
And it'll go, sure. And that's just something that exists on Mac. Like Windows doesn't have that. So let's see.
All right, what else?
Oh, nice. I love that. Web publishing engine, which runs WebDirect, would crash when there's bad colors in your theme.
Yep.
Invalid colors in your theme.
Yep.
I have an on last window close script trigger with close file. Would crash web publishing engine. Awesome. FileMaker Server would become unresponsive during uploading container files. Stoked. I don't know what bug that was, but that's exciting to hear that it no longer does that. Script engine became unresponsive when it was not able to properly remove sessions. Heck yeah. Awesome. So they did a whole bunch of session management cleanup. Nice.
Cool. What else we got?
Security. Oh, everybody will love this. So if you all have used WebDirect with the home URL, like command argument thing, where people log into WebDirect, and then when they time out or they log out, it will send them, for example, to your company's webpage or something like that. That is now turned off by default, and you have to muck around in an XML file on the server side with two different settings to get that to work again.
That's like one of those deals where you need the backstory on that, because it seems to me, why would you make things deliberately crappier unless there's like a real good reason for it?
Oh, I actually can explain that one super easily. So we'll call it custom craft an address. Replace the address on the edge of the logout thing to send somebody to a booby-trapped page. Yeah, so if you don't control where they're coming from, you can just send them malware. Basically, that's the short version.
I know,
when they log out of WebDirect.
I understand, but whoever's that URL that you're setting would be set by the guy the gal guy who set up the FileMaker server, right? So you're saying the malicious.
No, So this is the thing. So the way that worked is you just add it onto the address. So I could just come over here, and it wouldn't be a question mark because we have a language equals. So we'll do ampersand. Home URL rcconsulting.com, right? So I can just do that, and that will just work on WebDirect. I don't have to do anything. What this does is it means if you're going to do this, send people back to your homepage thing, you have to have control over the server to do it.
Okay.
Whereas otherwise, I could post a link to BC8's thing with a home URL equals, and it wouldn't. For example, Safari hides the URL if they don't think you need to see it, so it would hide the address that I'm going to booby trap from you.
So this is like a phishing thing then almost, right? Kind of a
Yeah.
phishing thing? Oh,
Yeah,
yeah. I like this.
it solves at least that. Yeah. No, it's very annoying. I understand why people are going to be absolutely pissed that they did this, because it makes it a lot harder to and especially if somebody had multiple addresses that they're trying to send people to,
Hmm.
that kind of thing. It's a huge pain in the butt. I fully understand. Also, that's what it's fixing.
Yeah.
Because if I go and modify it on the server side, yes, I am the administrator. I definitely have access 100%. So
Okay.
that's a good one. Didn't clean up after itself, basically, when you uninstalled on Ubuntu. Oh, and if you had home URL set up on Ubuntu, it wouldn't work. OAuth would
Okay.
not work. That's
I like the
hilarious.
next one. The next one's great. We are trying to land the airplane, but once again, they only gave us about 80 new bullets for our White by FileMaker Nerf gun. So we're trying to
Yep.
get through these. I like this one.
Uh,
Under certain conditions, this is the ghost users, right? The ghost user thing.
yep. Yep. Big cleanup. So those are no longer going to, basically. This will help FileMaker scale faster, and also when you have if you have clients that do lots of WebDirect, for example, this will make those perform a lot better because they will actually dump the like somebody disconnects from WebDirect, it'll dump that session much more quickly and reliably, which means that you don't have RAM growth problems on your server, which is one of the issues I've seen with WebDirect generally is it will explode its RAM usage, and it kind of has its own idiosyncrasies with when it actually cleans up after itself, and this seems to make it more reliable and more aggressive, basically. Because I've seen clients with issues where it's just WebDirect isn't cleaning up after itself fast enough. That's the short version, and so they're not able to support as many people as they would like because of that, and so this will help.
Okay.
On Ubuntu, we don't. It's not statically the
Yep.
so WebDirect is Java. The memory allocation, how much RAM are we allowed to use, was manually set to 4 gigabytes. It is now not.
Yeah.
It's probably set to some dynamic number or something.
Yep.
Custom apps would continually. Oh, this is a great one. So literally just you have your database on a FileMaker server that's Ubuntu, it would, under some circumstance, continually continue to use more RAM and never get rid of it and never free it. And that would eventually cause problems. Yeah.
Yeah, the server would just fall over is what it would do. So.
Yep, we had that happen several times.
Yeah, when navigate.
On
Yeah,
ours.
yeah. We, by the way, officially, we're not quite to the point where we're endorsing Ubuntu yet. So those of you wondering about that.
Yeah, I think we'll see. We need to do more testing. With 19.4, we may be ready to, but again, we haven't done that testing yet because it only came out the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So
Yeah, which is awesome.
we'll get there. But
Okay, what else we got?
so you'd have weird multiple object layouts.
Yep. Yep.
And that would fail to release memory on the server side, which would cause responsiveness and performance issues. That's correct. We have features. You no longer will get crappy thumbnails on Linux.
That's nice.
Everybody can celebrate. When inserting signatures, no longer. Oh, hosted on Linux. Yes. So no longer crappy thumbnails on Linux as a general statement. Got it.
Signature is the same thing, right? So.
Yep. Because it's the server that's doing the thumbnailing.
Yep.
So.
Let's see.
Run now, even after it finished. Awesome. Probably because it didn't update correctly. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I've noticed that.
Status info. Yeah. Invoking the URL returned by a get data API get records call to download container data took longer if the file was inserted with the compressed option. Oh man, I love that. That's great. Because they're going to give you a gzip file and then tell you what it. Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that's going to require some tech support.
That's going to break somebody's. Yep, I don't know who that's going to break, but that's going to break somebody's workflows. That's better, but not good.
Backups failed if the files were actively.
Yes.
Uploaded.
Yes, it did.
Yep.
That's an accurate statement. So that's good that no longer is the case. Basically, if someone happened to be putting a document into a container while the backup was running, it would bail the backup process.
Yeah. Yep. You crashed a couple people doing that.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, when custom apps are hosted on FileMaker server clients, sorting records and then going the first record sometimes causes scripts and operations to fail.
It's a timing problem.
Clients sorting records and then going to the first record sometimes causes scripts. So the script is doing. This is one of those deals where it's not enough
The script
data.
is running before. Yeah.
The script is doing the sorting and then going to the first record, and then the script just So it's a timing issue of
It doesn't
everything getting
wait.
long enough for it to occur.
There was something that wasn't blocking before that was supposed to, and now it does.
Yep. Large files were unable to be displayed in the log viewer, could cause to stop responding. Yeah, nothing like testing for big files. Command line. Incorrectly.
PWP config. Yep. Works correctly now.
Yep.
Get records failed if the layout folder used the same name as the layout being called, and the layout name was different from the table name, which the layout showed records. I love that.
Wow. Known issues. So this is good here. These are issues which are still here, and then we're going to be done for the day here. I know we're going late. Upgrading a secondary machine. So this is like if you're doing. It's not.
You're trying to keep your workers up to date.
Work machines, right? So
yeah. So they used to be called masters and workers, and we don't use that terminology anymore. And so it's primary and secondary. Primary is the FileMaker server. Secondary is the worker.
Okay. All right.
Yep.
Okay. Workaround. Mac OS command line installations for primary machines. We're back to the same issue of primary machines versus. Yeah, anymore I don't split the installations up because generally if you need something faster, get a faster server.
Yeah, it only makes sense to use the secondaries, the worker machines, which I should say the whole word is a web direct worker. That's what we're saying.
Yes.
And those are like Windows or Linux or whatever machines, and the only thing that they do is web direct. They are rendering web direct. It's a big fat Java app on a server, and that's it. And the FileMaker server is a different machine that it is talking to on the back end, basically.
Yeah.
Those are great.
Yeah.
But they're great, but the only time you should probably actually use them is if you really, really, really actually have hundreds of users on WebDirect, hundreds plural.
Great.
Because at that point it makes sense to, and they're only certified for. I know it's like WebDirect is certified for 100 or something per machine.
Yeah.
We pushed it to 180 something in our melting FileMaker cloud.
Yep.
And that may be better now because of all the work in 19 and the WebDirect work in 19.
Mm-hmm.
So
probably
they told us they were going to change those numbers, but I didn't see any updates on the page. I'll check again just in case. But
yeah, who knows if Clarence even tested scalability here. So, but yeah, that kind of.
They said somewhere that they were going to literally increase the certified numbers. Because of some of these fixes in 19.4. So I don't know if they actually did, and it wasn't updated when I looked at it. It was still 100 per machine and 500 overall or whatever. But I don't know. That would be nice.
All right, cool. Well, that's kind of the end of it right there, right?
And then this is my favorite one, and it's the last one, and then we can land the plane. So you can run, if you're on the server, on the command line as an admin user, you can run fms admin get server prefs, and that gives you all kinds of server preferences, some of which you may not even know exist. And they spit them out on the command line, and then you can use set server prefs and then blah, blah, blah to set it, right? So read it. Did you read it?
This is funny, right? So when you're running this, you're gonna see this as options in here that you can play with. However, just because you see the option does not mean you should actually push the button. So this one says launch nuclear weapons, right? And because you see a button that says launch nuclear weapons, doesn't mean you should push it. Sorry. So so that is the nuke everyone and your friends too button, and so we're warning you, don't push it. So
and I think the first one is actually that thing that they introduced for Windows specifically, which may be why it's in there, and it's like not supposed to be on Mac or something. They added a thing where you can disable the certificate revocation checking, which is kind of specifically for like Windows on-site people with AD that don't have any communication with the outside world, because certificate revocation is an online thing that like you have to be connected to the internet and generally accessible to do that. And so there's an off button for that in 19.4 for enterprise users. And I have no idea what the second one is, and that's very interesting.
Yeah, it's obviously they're working on a new feature that didn't quite make the ship, so they just kind of like say, hey, when you see this button that says nuke your neighbors, don't press it, right? So anyway, cool. Well, what's tomorrow? Tomorrow on the upcoming broadcast schedule, coming tomorrow to a theater
That would be
near
cool.
you. Jonathan Ray will be talking about some sort of like little thing that he's done. Maybe give you folks some ideas about edit, save, cancel in lean design. So it'll be good. He'll be doing that. Then Monkey Spread Wednesday. Make sure you have your latest license ready to go for Wednesday. Then Thursday and Friday I will be out, but Margaret will be here with our guest speakers. Kyle will be here on Friday, and then Christian Olsen along with Mr. Watson will be here talking about all sorts of amazing stuff that they're doing. All right, well, we'll catch everyone tomorrow. We greatly appreciate it. And I have to pick up all the ammo that's all over the floor, right? At least we got it. So I'm not unhappy we got it. I just unhappy that they just dumped a bag on my head and we didn't have any advance warning, right? So that part was awesome. So cool. All right, see you, everyone. Got a report of an individual up here who may be a FileMaker license. Well, it's potentially expired. Look at the back of that car right there. Looks like the FileMaker license has expired. Sir, I need you to step out of the vehicle. Sir, step out of the vehicle. Sir.